Welcome to today's episode on the Understory podcast. I'm your host Kelsey, and today we will be interviewing the lovely Eileen Mulvaney. She is active in local politics, community work involved in green issues and ecology, and works with a mental health charity as a recovery coordinator. So you're a very busy lady, Eileen.
Thank you. Lovely introduction, Kelsey.
No, thank you for joining us. I'm very happy to have you here. Today I would like to dive into a topic that shapes most of our world, often in ways we don't even recognise, such as the theory of discrimination and othering. So today I would like to explore with you what othering really means and explore it and discuss the real world impacts of these concepts.
I was quite interested when you talked about this to me initially, and you said there was a theory of othering. A theory of discrimination, or a theory?
The natures of prejudice as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about othering, I think it's quite a cultural thing, really. Do we learn? How are we brought up? What does our culture teach us?
Yeah.
Where did the idea of othering originate? There is a psychotherapist called Melanie Klein. She was kind of Jungian persuasion. She died in 1960.
Right.
And born in the 1880s. So her lifespan went across the First World War, Second World War, the rise of fascism, etc., the rise of communism. And she wrote a lot about the fact that when she wrote about child and mother psychology, childhood stuff, and she talked about the sense of oneness that a baby has up till the oneness with the mother. And so the baby doesn't know different to the mother is the baby until around 10 months, and they start to differentiate very approximately, because no two children are the same.
No.
And I find that very interesting, because that's when we apparently start to learn about the other. So you could say that it's undifferentiated up to that point, and then you start to see, what is the other? Is the other something that is dangerous, loving? What emotion do I display towards it? So I think maybe it's got some roots in those early experiences. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Because I was always wondering about the root of where it had come from, because in psychology they say that children before they get to 3 years old, they can distinguish everyone as an individual. So even if you're, say, from a predominantly white British culture, they would be able to see another culture and identify them all differently. But then if you stay with a particular group of people or a race, you get so used to that race that the other starts to blend into one almost, they were saying. So that's quite interesting to see that they pick up maybe potentially from how they are treated by other people, by their families during that period, that really influential period of their brain development and their sense of who they are, and as you said, how they see the others.
And how people respond to them.
Yes.
So, when that classic thing with the baby, when the mum goes out the room, the baby cries. When the mum comes back in, the baby cries.
Yes.
Because the baby is then aware that the mum's been away. Anyway,
I know that through my daughter. Yeah, if she doesn't see me in sight, then she's fine. But the moment I'm there, it's mum. It's
So I put that forward as maybe it's something innate in us, but then what comes next is how we handle that as a culture. So, you could say at the moment, the Western culture is originally Christian.
Yes.
In its formation. Now it's much more diverse.
Mm.
But in its kind of major shopping bag of Western culture.
Catholic and Christian, isn't it? That was
Christian and Greek, maybe.
Yeah.
Greek philosophy. But within that, I was just really going back to the Christian thing, is that idea of the other. You've got the Cain and Abel story. And suddenly, you've got difference. It's like we all start off Garden of Paradise, everything's lovely, get a bit of knowledge, you're kicked out, and there is the other. Suddenly you're in the world of the other, and suddenly you're fighting for someone else's resources, or that's the story we're told.
Other people want our resources and we need to take theirs.
And so when you originally asked me about othering, I kind of fell into that, starting with psychology and then thinking about culturally, where are we coming from in Europe with it? And then sort of going on to think about capitalism, really, that we are encouraged by capitalism to be competitive, to not see a collaboration. I'm talking far too much, Kelsey.
No, you're not.
Chip in here.
No, I want this. I want this. It's brilliant. Continue.
Well, we are taught, or we have been taught, I think there is a change now, but we have been taught that we weren't collaborative, that to survive you had to be competitive.
Yes, survival of the fittest.
Survival, it nicely fitted into, the evolution theory that, if you had the right whatever, you would survive. However, there were other thinkers, other people, a woman called Maria Gimbutas, who was she Lithuanian, and then she went to America. She was an anthropologist, and she put forward the idea. She did a lot of archaeological research in Eastern Europe, I think. And she put forward the idea that we wouldn't have survived if we hadn't collaborated. So the idea that we were all these, little groups running around, killing each other. So I thought that was amazing.
So it must have stemmed from somewhere, after that collaboration. So,
what do you mean?
The othering, when did it?
So it's in the beginning. If we understood that the goal was to survive, and
we had to collaborate.
We had to collaborate with each other.
And now all of a sudden it's, they're coming for us and we're going for them.
Well, the biggest thing, in the news at the moment, it's always the other. It's never look at yourself.
No.
It's not, if it's not immigrants, it's people on benefits.
And this is what's pushed me to want to do this episode today.
Right.
I am obviously with, for instance, currently the problems with Gaza and Israel and obviously Iran. There's so much going on culturally, religion. So, this whole anti-Muslim, just because there are extremist groups. I believe there are extremist groups in every religion. But obviously, predominantly, we are shown the Muslim side of things, the things that are going wrong.
Yeah, but who's showing us that?
The media.
And who owns the media?
Exactly. So for me,
look what happened with the BBC.
They're doing a fantastic job, though, of creating the media, the people, the BBC. They are doing a fantastic job of divide and conquer. The othering is just something that's so blatant to me at the moment. It's us v them.
Do you think more people are twigging to that? Because just recently we've had this big furore over Bobby Violin at Glastonbury, haven't we? And what Palestine Action being labelled a terrorist group.
Yes.
So do you think people are starting to see things slightly differently vis-a-vis, the othering of Muslim groups or Palestinian support?
Yes, incredibly so. I noticed that I was in London when that young man was hanging off of Big Ben. He actually rudely interrupted my tour of Parliament. But,
I think it was quite interesting. It might have made it.
I was more concerned about his feet. They were bleeding everywhere. He decided to climb the building in aid of supporting his friend who was in the protests, the Palestine support kind of protests. And his friend was put in jail for protesting peacefully, apparently. I don't know the ins and outs, but apparently it was a peaceful protest. So he was hanging on to Big Ben to signify that it's wrong that they are all getting arrested.
No fear of heights then?
Apparently not. So they blocked the whole bridge off for the day.
Wow.
From about 7 a.m. to about 7 p.m. And he stayed up there all day. And it was just a sign to say we were being peaceful and we were still arrested anyway.
But that's another thing about how, what's happening to our governance in this country that, for how long? Maybe, trying to think, when did it was for charterism? Anyway, 1830. We've been allowed to make our point, haven't we?
Yes.
We've had a status of free speech.
And now it's apparent that we are not allowed that as much, freedoms to express that. And I find that quite concerning because, say in the French Revolution, the mothers would take to the streets and go and fight for change over the prices of bread.
Yeah.
And now to do that, if you want to go to the streets and fight for anything, whether it's peacefully or not, there's a very high percentage you're probably going to get arrested.
Yeah.
And so where do we start with trying to change things now? That's quite concerning. If no one has the freedom to peacefully protest and to say, as a country, we don't agree with what you're doing, what can we do anymore? It's now no longer...
Well, it hasn't got to that. It hasn't got to that extreme. We're not forbidden yet.
But then, if you look at
we're
COVID,
not totally forbidden. But
look
I think
what happened in COVID.
Exactly. So that's kind of like a precursor of what can happen.
There we go.
But you also don't want to go down the conspiracy.
No, of course not. But
hole there.
To me, democracy and us voting in that government is us saying, we want you to do this.
Well, it's like saying you can have free speech as long as it's my free speech.
Yes. But then they're okay to go and put out all the propaganda and all of the media they want to help establish why they want to fight these wars and why they want to do all of everything they're doing.
No, it's very disturbing. I agree. It's hard to know.
And
I think if people can still... There are different ways of making your point felt.
Yes.
Culturally, you can make your point felt. In writing, in theatre, in the arts.
There's a way of also saying, even if you are British and you want to stick to them British values, there's a way of saying that. And
but what are British values? What the heck does that mean? Really, we've got to come back to some kind of civility and courtesy.
It doesn't seem to be that way. Everyone's a bit barbaric at the moment, I find. I look online and I go on apps like X. So I'm quite predominant on X. And some of the things and I see and hear and I just think, on what grounds
there's freedom. They're not seeing the person opposite them to see the response.
This is what I go back on saying. Just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. Right?
Yeah.
So... for instance, when that mother of three got a couple of months in jail or however long in jail for tweeting about how the hotel with the immigrants should be set alight
during the riots,
and then the government should be, and everyone was surprised she was arrested, and I was like, how are you surprised? What she said
she was inciting violence.
Yes, and someone who has very extreme values or ideas could take that and run with it, and I don't think that's healthy to be putting that out just because you do have the freedom of speech. I have the freedom to say many things. I try my best not to, though. So
maybe it's how one says those things.
Yes.
So if we develop courtesy, about how we have to look again at how we communicate.
Having empathy towards, because not every Muslim has extreme values. So to now say, oh, you're Muslim, you're the enemy, that form of othering can be very detrimental to people and to society and how everyone's living amongst each other. I mean, just look in Ireland, Catholic, Protestant, look at the division in Northern Ireland. Do we want that everywhere? Is it necessary to have such a division? Why are we so... What is it that stems people to other so much? Is it a form of self-protection? Or
stereotypes are a way of knowing where you belong, of being safe, of feeling you've got boundaries. I'm with this tribe. And
protected.
You're protected.
Is it also a way of scapegoating?
Well, it is,
putting blame on another society.
It's got a root need. There is a part of us that wants to know where we belong, where we're safe. We need that.
Yes.
But it's how we then approach, how curious are we about other people? How welcoming, how safe do we feel to welcome other people? And if we don't feel safe, we're not welcoming other people. And that's happening, it's being manipulated.
That's what I mean.
It may have already always been there in the past that people have done it. Well, it has. The class system was built on, some people are better than others just because they've inherited something, the right of kings, etc., etc. So it's always been there. It's just now because we've got this pervasive international media, the internet, it's everywhere.
It's more predominant because people can see it now. People can access and see it everywhere, which is a
so
big
how
problem.
do we get to be responsible citizens?
I think everyone needs to bear in mind that a lot of these stereotypes are obviously prejudgments without evidence, and everyone should be a little more empathetic and show, like you said, we can be more welcoming, we can be more diplomatic in the way that we express our thoughts and feelings.
Be more curious about life.
maybe learn about the other cultures. I think educating people would be a massive help. Educating that people on other cultures, on other, just everything else you know that goes on in the world, and get people out of their box and seeing that not everyone is an enemy, I think would be a really good starting point at the moment.
Yeah, gosh.
One hell of a starting point as well. I don't quite know how we'd go about it, but like I said, with the propaganda at the moment and people having this freedom of speech since Trump's come in.
But then you've also got the danger of feeling, if there are more people feeling this and feeling slightly bewildered at the kind of, the con that's been put on them,
yes.
Realising what do people, as you've mentioned before, what do you then do about it? So we've seen in the last week, the Bobby Violent thing, there was an interesting, I think his name is Femi Kuta, who did he was playing at Glastonbury, and he gave a sort of impromptu talk to the audience where he said, talk about free Palestine, you talk about, now it's free Iran, there's a new free every week. What about free Europe? Have you looked at yourselves? And I thought, my goodness, have we looked at ourselves?
Yeah.
And how do we even think the rest of the world sees Europe?
And this is what I was saying about scapegoating. Like, so it seems like a very convenient way to, blame the issues in society on another group, rather than looking at ourselves.
Distraction.
Rather than looking at ourselves and saying, Europe, are we doing that good? Like, what are we doing as a country? We're saying, well, that country's worse. Them
so
people are
like
doing
you can
terrible.
only keep people together by teaching them to hate the other.
Yes.
So we'll keep some sort of societal cohesion if we tell everyone, they're bad, we're good, Really?
And then they can also justify why they're going and dropping bombs on all these other countries as well.
Yeah.
I think then
terrifying.
Which is why
because at some point those other countries are going to, well, they've said, I think it's, maybe I shouldn't name names here, but some countries have not reacted to provocation, and they've had a lot of provocation.
Yes.
And that's extraordinary, really.
Yes.
And who is allowed to have a nuclear weapon and who isn't allowed
and
to have
it just makes me laugh at who is the person that decides this
and who
at
is
the end of the day.
deciding
Who
this?
is deciding this at the top?
Yeah.
That's what it all comes down to, isn't it? And then it filters down through all the media, through all the social medias, and then it gets
in
to
order
all the
to make
civilians.
everyone feel, we're safe, we're right.
Yeah.
This thing of,
we're doing the right thing. We need to bomb them. They're the enemy. They want to kill us all.
Yeah.
Our values are the right ones. We are the ones in the right. Who said we're the ones in the right?
Yeah.
Nobody.
I mean, it's complicated. It
Very.
is complicated because immigration, to sort of jump to that as well, which is the sort of classic othering in the UK at the moment. There are people that you could scrutinise how many people come into a country, but if you're bringing people in, you're happy for, you need GPs, you need psychoanalysts, etc. in your health service. You're happy to bring them in from other countries. How do you actually manage that? I have no idea.
You don't apparently, do you?
Well, you don't know that's
by
true.
the looks of it, no, because that.
But I think there is a kind of a commercial criminal element, and it's appalling.
There must be. There must be. There's got to be some sort of underhand thing going on because.
And there's all that underbelly of the idea of trafficking people as well.
Yes, and I know that happens even in the city we are in right now.
Absolutely.
Because I have met people who do not have legitimacy here.
Yeah.
And I know where they come from and the countries they come from, and I think so it's that easy for you to come here and start a life here.
And to have been here for a long time.
People don't need to even do it officially no more. No wonder why they're all just taking the risk. A lot of them aren't even in danger back there. They just want to be
but
here.
But some are. And it's sort of how
do you differentiate?
How do you sieve that all through?
Because of course we want to, no one surely in this country would say we want to see other people suffering in their country. If you are really in need, like we'd want to help them. But the thing is, it's not that case anymore. People are coming here and obviously taking advantage.
It's being manipulated, isn't it? But the emphasis has been on that, And it is what the UN Charter in 1948 was about. Supporting refugees.
Coming in. The NHS, 40% were migrants back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So that was okay.
It was all right
so,
then,
yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah. So it's okay as long as they're doing things for us and we can make. I think it comes down to back then, at least they were working, they were trying to be a part of our society, they were paying taxes.
Well, maybe it comes back to how the government manages taxes and wealth.
The problem is if people are coming over illegitimately, they're not paying taxes. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not. A lot of people.
And it's not about othering at that point.
No.
It's about kind of a level playing field, isn't it? Yeah.
But then people will start to stereotype that culture as
on all sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it then stems onto this othering, like if a typical kind of, country have a habit of coming over and you keep meeting people that are illegitimate, but you'll say, oh, they're all like that. That's what I keep hearing. Oh, them Polish or...
Yeah, absolutely.
Or,
Or it used to be Irish. Are those Irish?
Really?
Oh, God, you must have seen the, what was it? No blacks, no Irish, no dogs T-shirts.
Oh, my goodness,
It was on a sign on houses in the early 60s when, if you wanted to rent a room, there were these signs.
That was a legitimate sign, was it?
It was a legitimate sign. No blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Good Lord.
So, it's been lots of
at least we've improved in some ways, I guess.
Yeah. And law, you come back to law being the thing that somehow pulls that together, like the UN Charter, international law, and that is under such threat at the moment.
Yes.
Because everywhere you look, that agreed consensus, and I admit has been under threat for many years, but it exists. We've got an international court of justice.
But no one seems to care about war crimes at the moment very much. No, that's the problem. Clearly the consequences aren't, I don't know, severe, or they know they're going to get away with it somehow because someone up there is allowing them to get away with it.
Yeah. So where do we go from there?
I have no idea.
I've got no idea. Well, you still keep trying to be informed,
yes.
And I think you still keep, doing the best you can to kind of to look at, to be those qualities in yourself. So to be welcoming, to try and be fair.
So I try to show my daughter. Yeah. This is how I'm trying to raise my child so that, she sees that I'm very welcoming and open to getting to know anyone, and I judge them based on the way that they're treating us and their actions that they do in life, rather than, oh, they're this, they're that. And it's going to be quite difficult for my daughter, especially because she is being raised as a Muslim. So with a white, mother from a Christian family, but then her father is from a Bengali family. So I know that she's already going to come across difficulties.
What a rich background she can have.
I worry about the problems she's going to face with othering and problems like that in our culture and in any culture. It is something that concerns me, and I want to try and demonstrate and educate people.
I think it's changing. I mean, she's quite young.
Yeah.
And I hope by the time she's, a 15-year-old, that thing, and she'll learn a lot from it.
There's such a
So it's the resilience you need to encourage.
I will, of course, but there's such a fear in people that they think Muslims are taking over by having welcoming them here and having mosques.
Why would that be? Why would that be, do you think?
I don't know, because of the propaganda that they see. Like, Muslims are bad. They want to take over. They want to kill us.
The classic othering.
There we go.
We could go back to the Crusades, couldn't we? So at that point, they were the Western enemy. And yet at the same time, they were the ones who fueled the Renaissance in Europe, because they held on to, in the south of Spain, much of the works of the Greeks were being translated by Muslim and Jewish scholars.
Okay.
And it sort of funneled into the rest of Europe. So you had that, and then you had the Crusades, and it's very interesting. There's a book called An Arab View of the Crusades, where you see how the Arabs perceived the Westerners coming. This is like 1100s, 1300s.
That's interesting.
And they saw them as barbaric, filthy, dirty people who didn't wash.
Yeah, barbaric.
So the othering, they didn't go, oh, come in, I'd like to find out about your culture.
It happens on both sides.
It happens on both sides.
So everyone.
And at the moment, the West wants a foothold in the Middle East. Oil,
Definitely
and
oil.
more oil.
Definitely oil. Why else?
So there is a reason for that, I think.
But they like to try and justify it with these.
The value argument.
Yes, and then that's when it all stems.
Well, the value argument falls flat on its face when you look at Gaza, what's happening in Gaza. and Palestine. You know, it's just horrific. We know that we're sitting, hearing, watching, knowing that this is happening, and we're powerless. We can't do anything. There's nothing you can do.
Even if we said to our government,
It's
don't do
madness
this,
making.
do that, you know, they're not going to listen.
People are, and then we come back to the right to protest and the right to free speech.
They're still not listening. They're arresting people instead, and going and doing more of it. But if you're our government and we voted you in to do these certain things, surely you should be listening to the country,
So
the people of the country.
Who are they listening to?
They're not us. The people they're obviously getting money, or you know, there's obviously a.
But that's what we assume.
Well,
we don't
else?
know, do we?
Why else? If it's not for money and not for oil, why would they not listen to the people that voted them in?
Because the people who voted them in are many, and there are many voices. But you can come back to the rule of law puts us into, you know, the pain of it is.
Of not being able to do anything, it is incredibly frustrating.
It's crazy. But you can do. I did a workshop last week with a Palestinian woman in Gaza. It was all online, and her name was Shahid Al-Nami, if I'm saying that rightly. And it was she didn't have a shred of self-pity, and it was a brilliant writing workshop. But it was harrowing because it was all on her face. You could see everything. She didn't have to say it.
Strong and resilient over there.
But even that is, you know, we tell ourselves that. You know, I don't know how we would fare under those circumstances.
I don't think I would do very well, Eileen. That's for sure.
No.
I don't know if I would have the strength and the faith that keeps them.
But I think that's
fighting.
The thing that we can still do, what we can do, is to keep supporting things like that,
and
keep finding out, actually seeing someone who was there, and you know, no words. You didn't need any words. A writing workshop, and you didn't need any words because it was all on her face. So doing things that keep pushing, keep doing, keep being involved in whatever way you can, and it applies to other things, not just the Palestinian issue. I'm taking that back on the whole topic of othering. So what do we do about othering? Challenge. Surely that's the only. What do you think? Is there anything else?
Challenge it, yeah. And like I said, education, empathy, and just challenge.
Can we get 3 C's? Challenge, compassion.
Yes, compassion's a very good one.
What's
very
another
good
C?
one.
Communicate.
There we go. Communicate. So yeah, the
3 C's.
I think that would be an amazing way to start. Yeah, unpacking it and getting everyone a little bit open, a little bit more open.
Around the table.
Yes,
to get
as you
table.
said, the way we survived originally was working together,
collaboration, exactly.
And all we seem to be doing at the moment is trying to kill each other.
But that's like the rats in the cage, isn't it? You know, fighting for survival.
Yes.
What does that say about our whole? Don't get me started on wealth management in our society. If we have a society where we have so many billionaires, I mean, how many Rolls Royces do you need?
Yeah, the top 1% are certainly racking it compared to the lower 30, that's for sure.
Then they become the other.
Yes.
You know,
yeah, you start stereotyping them and judging them. They're the enemy. They're not paying taxes. Exactly. They've got their money overseas. How dare they?
They're all fleeing to New Zealand.
Yeah, well, to be honest,
chunks of it.
Because when you look at statistics, our richest people are leaving the country. Yeah. And what are we getting in to replace it? That's the concern. But then that's another thing for othering.
Another part of that is that people get wealthy using the infrastructure of the country they were in. Who built the roads? Who made the hospitals? Who works in the schools? So wealth doesn't exist just on its own.
No.
You know, it is a collaborative event. You know, our first experience of the other, you know, in the beginning we have this undifferentiated feeling with life. You know, the table is me, the chair is me, and then suddenly you've got to, as you evolve as a baby, as you grow and your brain develops, you start to learn about separation. She wrote this book called Oneness and Separateness, around the development of a baby to toddler. I think it's like 1 to 3 years old. Really interesting.
I wish I'd read that before my child turned 3.
Well, I think you could read it now. I would still be fascinated
for sure.
by it.
Yeah.
So that
I'll put it on my list. I see you brought another
I have
book
another
with you
book.
as
Yes,
well.
I have another book there because you asked me earlier about books I might recommend,
Yes.
or what possible way forward might I see. And one, we've invented our 3 C's,
which are going to be a storm, and they're going to solve every problem in the world, aren't they, Eileen?
Maybe. It's a start.
With a bit of luck. We've got to start somewhere, haven't we?
So, well, we have. This conversation is one of many, and there are people starting all over the place.
Exactly, and the more people that.
And actually, that's another thing. You
this.
don't hear about all the good stuff that's going on.
No, but we will be as well. We'll be doing good and bad. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The understory will cover.
So the book that I wanted to mention, I brought it with me, is this one. Yes. I'll show you. Here's a plug for this book.
It's
an amazing book.
Someone
it's fascinating.
Mentioned this book.
Really?
Yeah, the other day. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's
Do you know what context?
I can't remember talking about indigenous. So we were talking about othering and basically on a whole.
Well, this is a classic way of looking at it. This woman, Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, wrote a book called An Indigenous People's History of the United States. So the idea that the United States didn't exist until the 17th century, when the first religious emigres arrived, that it started then. She blows that sky high.
Interesting.
It's amazing, but for just turning your mind around and thinking, hang on a minute, it's not quite like that, is it?
That's what we need. We need people to start looking from different perspectives, and then I think we can all be a bit wiser about how we're doing things as well. If everyone was to say, read this book and look at themselves and how they are treating people, that would be a good start.
It's a start. It just sort of makes you see that things are not quite the way you thought they were. And there's another book. What was it? I wrote it down because I thought I might not remember it exactly. It's called The Dawn of Everything, and it's by David Graeber and David Wengrove.
Okay.
And that's also about kind of unpacking Western civilization.
Brilliant.
And again, using a lot of American models to do it. So I'd highly recommend those 2 books.
I will definitely give those a read. The one I also had was The Nature of Prejudice by Gordon Allport.
Okay,
that's a very good read as well. My grandmother actually recommended me that.
Amazing.
And she is a very insightful woman. You remind me a lot of her, actually. So your book, is that more from the perspective of the indigenous people?
Yeah, she is an indigenous person.
Okay.
I mean, what's amazing is that you realise you've slipped into thinking that America began when the Pilgrim Fathers arrived.
No.
Hang on a minute. Or that, they were all savages until we were the savages, particularly in...
Well, that's how they saw us, yeah.
That's how they saw us.
So this goes back to othering.
That is a really powerful thing to show to people. Hang on a minute. Others have seen us as savages.
So we see them, as Donald Trump says, they're eating the cats and all this. But, back in the day, they probably thought we were eating the cats in obviously not in, I'm using it as an example, a bit of an out there one. But it's good that there are books from all sides. So I want to recommend to everyone that you read that book, including myself. Because I think this is a good place to start, with the 3 C's on top of that as well.
Okay. I want to go back and say why I spoke about Melanie Klein at the beginning.
Yes.
So I think that was important.
Definitely.
And the idea that our first experience is undifferentiated. Everything, we don't have a sense of separation. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, the book was called Oneness and Separateness.
No.
That Melanie Klein wrote.
Okay.
And charted a child's development from birth to about 3 years old. It's about our first experience. We, as babies, toddlers, we don't have an otherness. Everything is undifferentiated. And then we have pain because we start to feel differentiation. We're not part of our mother. We're not part of the caregiver, the person who's looking after us. We're separate. And so you come back to that book that Melanie Klein wrote, Oneness and Separateness.
That's where it starts, then,
she
believe.
Just talks about, from her perspective, the development of the child from 1 to 3. And I just wonder if our first experience of separateness is pain, maybe just playing around with that idea.
It could be.
Or one of the things.
I'm open to discussing all the theories around it. how it came around, where it stems from, and how we can resolve it. But maybe that would be something to bear in mind, that at that stage, the pain, like you said, of the separation, of not feeling as one with your mother, and working out where you are and what you're doing and your purpose. I guess that would be
so that would point to that being a really important thing to follow in your life.
Yeah.
Finding those places that you are happy, content.
But also not judging people who don't choose to, or are not born or part of what you want to, or how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think that's a good way to start. And hopefully this podcast will help people understand, that this is something that's still quite an issue in society, and that there are ways that we can work with ourselves to fix it.
Maybe we should also say, that othering has its use. It isn't all bad.
No. Okay, let's give some good points.
Maybe we should think about the fact that, why does... Maybe the first experience is painful. Maybe culturally we then learn to distrust others because of competition or capitalism or class or all the rest of it. But what's the good part of it, othering?
Feeling safe, I guess.
Feeling safe.
Within your, your tribe. So Belonging, yeah. A sense of, I guess, purpose, if you've all got your place. And but what else would be good about othering? That's what I try to, I can't really...
I think if you could appreciate other people's differences, maybe that would, maybe the thing of being curious. That's what the other C. Did we have that in the 3 C's?
Oh no, wait.
We needed curiosity.
We
needed, so maybe it's
compassion, curiosity,
challenge.
There we go. That'll do. We could just keep changing the C's as
we
go
could,
along.
yes. So having curiosity about other people and appreciating the difference, but not feeling threatened by it. Not feeling
that's it.
That, it's a problem. That it challenges your way of life, that
it affects you somehow in a negative way. That's the stigma that we need to change. I think
that's the word, stigma.
Yes. So I do have a couple of questions from my listeners, if that would be okay to ask you. So the listener question number 1: can you share an example of how bringing people together, like through shared activities, can help reduce prejudice and discrimination?
Ooh. An example of that. Well, I like something called the Way of Counsel. That's one thing, and I'll go into that in a minute. But literally community activities, so art projects, theatre projects.
So getting everyone together
in one room, having a role, having something to do together that's separate to who you are. Yeah, so bringing people together for another purpose. Whether it's creating a piece of theatre or a piece of writing.
Yeah.
And the Way of Counsel is a way of sitting around in circle where you listen to one another, you don't interrupt, and you aim to fully listen to each person. You don't make a judgment, you don't have an argument or a debate. Each person says their piece about an issue or an item to be discussed, and that's it.
I like that.
And it's not about...
It's that whole prejudgment.
None of that goes on.
Just listen.
And you have to just really... It teaches you to really listen.
Take it all in and not listen to respond as well. That's
exactly. So hopefully improve your communication.
Yeah. So thank you very much. The second question is, how can I help influence my friends and family to stereotype other people less?
Gosh. Oh, I'd have to come back to our C's.
See, the C's are working already.
C's. Curiosity, compassion.
There we go. You are correct. I think, educating people and trying to get people to show
There's a massive thing in education, but it doesn't just stop at school.
No. I spend most days, I'm looking at articles or watching things on YouTube. I'm always
have you come across
teaching myself.
What have you come across that you or an example where people come together and dispels stereotypes a bit?
So this is what I've been doing, like I said, on the app X. They have a thing called spaces now where you can all kind of talk up to, I think, 10, 12 or whatever, and hundreds, thousands of people can come and listen. So I go in them and I hear a lot of debates, I hear a lot of things, a lot of one-sided, or sometimes a lot of echo chambers. And for me, I like to go in and mix it up a little bit and say, well, what about this? Did you consider taking it from this angle? I like to be thought-provoking, and I'm trying to do that everywhere as much as I can. So to make people sit and think, hang on a minute, actually, am I doing things, the best way I can do? Have I been thinking about something a bit one-sided? Can I educate myself a bit more on that? Can I be a better human being?
So that's self-inquiry.
Yes.
But where do you put that out in the community? Where do you feel that you rub up against that?
Everywhere.
Always. So, okay.
Always. Everything I do, everyone I come across, I will have that conversation. I will find a way to even if I can't have a conversation, to show them how I am, how I behave with other people.
To show up, in fact.
Yes,
to just show up and be there.
The best way is to lead by doing it yourself. So demonstrate with myself how I think we could all come together and collaborate again, and hopefully lead by example. And hopefully this podcast can help educate people and make people look inwards or look outwards and educate themselves, so that they don't just take everything for face value or what they hear on Facebook, so they can take it away and think, okay, maybe I should look into that a bit. Maybe I don't know a lot about that. And that could change their whole view on a whole culture, on a whole situation. If I can just provoke a little spark of thought with people, just to be more compassionate, to challenge more, then I'll be happy.
Wonderful. Okay.
So, is there anything else you would like to
bring up on the subject of othering?
Anything else you'd like to add?
Okay, no, I think that's it. Thank you, Kelsey.
Well, thank you, Eileen, for joining me on this important conversation. I have really, really enjoyed having you here, and really happy that you are my first episode.
Thank you.
So once again, Eileen, thank you for joining me. It's been eye-opening. And if you all enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, please leave a comment, please share with all your friends, all your family. Remember, change starts with awareness and action.